Hello and welcome back to Newsmin. It's the 14th of June and right now it's time for yet another E3 2013 recap. In this episode we're having a look at absolutely everything that was announced and shown off during the EA conference. We're starting with EA and Ubisoft will be next. Now I feel it worth mentioning that both EA and Ubisoft would have a much harder time putting a bad show on at E3 because they just gotta show games, that's it. EA focused almost entirely on next gen, which most people appreciated and enjoyed, and it seems like they do have a good spread of games coming up. There are a couple of big name games coming out this year, and even more well into next year, meaning you'll constantly and consistently have something to play if you do pick up either the Xbox One or the PS4 when it launches. The show proper started on a rather strange note with Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare. Now I say strange because PopCap made a third-person shooter out of Plants vs. Zombies, but it does look fun. The visuals stick with the theme that I'd expect from a Plants vs. Zombies game, and I think that if it doesn't cost too much, I'd probably pick something like this up. It is set to feature co-op multiplayer and is confirmed for the Xbox One and Xbox 360. After that, Peggle 2 was announced. The announcement of the game took all of 2 seconds and no further details of the game were mentioned, but I will say that Josh Vecchi, the co-founder of PopCap Games, is my hero. The guy was just super enthusiastic and passionate about his games and it showed. The crowd, however, kind of let him down and left him hanging.
Peggle 2!
Moving along to something that received a much warmer welcome, Titanfall. The Titanfall devs showed more gameplay off, spoke about the game and their super fun looking campaign multiplayer experience, about the back and forth cat and mouse battles between pilots on foot with their wall running and double jumping, and the hulking and intimidating titans. I said before that this was one of my favorites of the show and I'll stick with that statement. After Titanfall, Star Wars Battlefront was announced to be alive and kicking and in development at DICE. It's going to be using the Frostbite 3 engine and, well, that's it. It was just a super short teaser. Need for Speed Rivals took the stage next, and it's a new Need for Speed game. There's honestly not that much more to say about it. The game does look great visually, and I suppose if you're into racing games, it could be one to look out for. A couple of new features were announced, and the focus on Smart Glass and how it integrates with the game was obviously shown off. All Drive was announced, which is meant to destroy the line between single player, co-op and multiplayer, but basically just means that you can at times see others in your game world while you're playing and your friends or rivals can drop in and out of your games. A Need for Speed movie was announced that's gonna feature Jesse from Breaking Bad that's also coming in 2014, and then Dragon Age 3. A trailer was shown that was once again entirely done in Frostbite 3 and it was impressive. While I was watching I was actually convinced that it was a cinematic until I rewatched it and saw the mention that it was all in engine. No gameplay, sure, as it seems to be with many games at E3, but I honestly thought that this was enough. Dragon Age 3 Inquisition is set to be a true open world experience. Morrigan and some other familiar faces are back and the game is releasing in fall of 2014. Once that was done and EA had everyone's attention, they thought it the perfect time to strike with their sports games. NBA, UFC, Madden, and lots of other stuff I really wasn't interested in. Some guy called Drake, that everyone seemed to know, came on stage to sell FIFA, and we saw a whole bunch of trailers with absolutely no gameplay. That's it for the sport. Battlefield 4 time. One of my favorite parts of the entire EA conference was the fact that they actually got 64 people on stage to play a Battlefield 4 match live to show the game's multiplayer off. That's brave and I like it. They played a map called the Siege of Shanghai. Commander mode was shown off even more. There was a lot of cool environmental destruction and their constantly changing battlefield seemed like a lot of fun. I mean, come on, who doesn't want to blow a skyscraper up or drop a tank into a parking garage by blowing the supports under it up? Very cool and definitely more interesting than the Battlefield presentation we saw during the Microsoft conference. The final game of the show definitely got the loudest cheers from the audience, Mirror's Edge 2. We saw a relatively short, incredibly impressive in-engine trailer that showed a slightly different looking Faith off. She's looking different because Mirror's Edge 2 is set to be a prequel, and set to tell Faith's origin story. It's also going to be open world, which seems to be the in thing at the moment, but I do think it will suit the game amazingly well. Finally, we were told that Mirror's Edge 2 will launch on the PC and Xbox One when it's ready. No mention was made of the PlayStation 4, but you never know. So that's it for Electronic Arts at E3. Subscribe if you like the content. Check back here soon for recaps of the Ubisoft and Nintendo conferences. Have a look at the others I've already uploaded if you haven't already. Remember to check the description below this video for all sorts of links. Like the video and all that other good stuff, and most importantly, happy E3 2013. Happy that.